off my Italian hot sausage. Normally I would just cut the sausage in half and lay it out on a grill and give it the syrup marks and cook it on both sides, and then I just cut it into small chunks. This time I decided to just open it up, separate the casing, cut it in half, and I was able to take 5 sections of this out of a half of a casing and like roll it up into like a little bit, like a little mini meatball. And I'm gonna put this in the pot to start cooking. So we're gonna put our stove between a 5 and a 4. Okay, and you can see my meat here. They are like little mini balls. This is the Italian hot sausage. So I like to kind of get this cooked first before I do the actual meat, because I'm gonna put the meat in here and it'll absorb some of the juice of the sausage. Now we're gonna begin with the ground meat. So there's a little bit of that juice from the sausage, which is fine. We're gonna add, since I'm doing 2 pounds of meat, I'm doing 2 tablespoons of my olive oil, 2 tablespoons of my garlic. If I was only making a pound of the meat, then I would have just done 1 tablespoon of the garlic and the oil. Right now, my dial is between a 4 and a 3. I did lower it once I was done cooking the sausage, which was on a 5. So I lowered it to a 4 and a 3. Okay. Here I took half of a large onion. I cut I cut it down to chunks. Here is a whole bell pepper, but I used half of red and half of green, cut and diced. Put the lid on this and cook this for about 2 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 pounds of the ground meat. I know it's a lot of meat, but remember, gotta break this down. Make sure that the meat is crumbly. While the meat is like this, I will go ahead and do 1 round of adobo. Now I'm going to add my 2 packets of Sazon. Because I'm making 2 pounds of meat, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of oregano. 2 tablespoons of sofrito. Actually 3. I still have the dial between 6 and 5. That's important to know. Now I'm going to taste the juice of the meat to see if it needs more adobo before I add the sauce. Needs more adobo. So this is round 2 of the adobo. Now that my meat is 3/4 of the way done, I'm going to start heating up my water. Here I have 6 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I salted to taste the water, so I'm going to wait for that to get boiling so I can start cooking the noodles. I'm going to taste the meat, the juice. Sometimes the juice can be a little bit off from the meat, so you definitely have to taste the juice first and then take a little bit of the meat. I think it has good flavor with just 2 rounds of adobo, so that should be fine. Now I'm going to leave this still on a 6. I want the juice to kind of dry out a little bit, and then I'll add the sauce when we come back. So the juice of the meat has gone down. I'm gonna go ahead and put 1.5 teaspoons on the cumin. Again, that's optional, but I just like the flavor of it, and it's not a full teaspoon, so it's just and then a half. Okay, I'm gonna mix that up again. Alright, now I'm going to add 1 can of tomato sauce. Again, if I was only cooking just the 1 pound, then I would definitely only use half of a can. But since I'm using 2 pounds, I use the full can of tomato sauce. Now, it's important to note, again, that you're going to use your slotted spoon to like let the juice fall out of the meat when you go to layer your pan for your baked ziti. Okay, so that's done with that. I'm going to turn this off so the meat can start cooling off. My water is boiling for the ziti, so I'm going to cook my ziti, and then we'll be back to layer it all in the pan. At this time, you should have your oven on and set it to 350. While my pasta is cooling off, I went ahead and started cutting my cheese. As you can see, very thin slices. And I did cut all of the 2 blocks, 16 ounces of mozzarella cheese. I went ahead and I opened up my jar of sauce. I'm using Prego flavored meat, 24 ounces. I like this for this dish. It's never failed me. And I started putting a little bit at the base. As you can see, it's not a lot. Okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take my pasta. It's been sitting in cold water, cooling off. And I'm gonna just start spreading it around. One box is literally all you need. You don't need much. Okay. Then I'm gonna go ahead and take my meat and start kind of like just spreading it around. Because I know I can only put so much in layers, I'm gonna evenly split the meat so I have enough in both layers when I go around to spreading it. Okay. Then comes the Italian sausage. I also kind of split that in half, so I already know. And I'm just crumbling it in, spreading it around. Doesn't have to be perfect. But as you can see, one pack of that premium Italian hot sausage was enough for this. You don't need anything more than that. Then I'm going to go ahead and start layering it with the meat, with the cheese. And then start the process again and layer again more of the sauce. And you want to put a little bit more sauce, and then we'll be back to show you how it goes into the oven. If you have leftover pasta, don't worry about it. Put it in a baggie and in a Ziploc bag and just freeze it and use it for something else. Because again, my dish is only 2 inches high. Normally I would have finished everything off, but I don't. As you can see, I'm right at the edge of my pan with everything. So I was only able to do 2 layers. And I do have some leftover slices of cheese also, but that's okay. I'll use that somewhere else in another dish later on in the week. But the main thing is that you want to get this on the cheese and then cover it with aluminum foil and bake it at 350 for about 30 minutes. You want to make sure that the top layer of your cheese has melted. So here's the final dish, and it's been plated. You can see the gooiness of the cheese. I have some pasta, the ground meat, and the Italian sausage. This is delicious. I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I do. Happy cooking.